In honor of today's movie, I present this review in 3D Peach Vision. Ooh. I'm bored and I don't understand the joke. All right, buddy. Oh, yes, this is our post-Shriek Out reaction for My Bloody Valentine 3D. I have recorded this opening like 5 times, and that's the first time I actually got the name of the movie right. So, yes, this is part of Remake Week here for the post-Shriek Out reaction. And this is kind of a weird one for us to review, because all the other movies that we've reviewed, I've seen the original. But I have not seen the original for My Bloody Valentine. But I thought it would be good to get at least one movie in Remake Week that we have not seen the original for, just so that way we can kind of judge this film by itself. Because I think it goes without saying that if you see a movie that's a remake and you've seen the original, you're going to be comparing them in your mind.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted one movie that I could go, all right, let me just judge this thing. And this movie actually got pretty good reviews. Not like great, not glowing praise, but most people agree, yeah, it's all right. It's
I
a
felt
fun
the same
time.
way too, honestly.
Yeah, kind of. I'm very in the middle on this one,
Yeah.
but this film does have an odd charm to it. And the weirdest part is that this is a remake of a 1981 film, which whenever you're in a something one, you're basically part of the previous decade. And this film, it does have very much like a 70s vibe to it. Not like, 70s music playing or people walking around like 70s attire. But when you think of those 70s slasher films, just those really corny ass, like late 70s, early 80s slasher films, this one actually feels like one of them. And that does add to the charm, but I think it only adds to the charm because I know that this is a remake of a late 70s, early 80s slasher film. I don't know if, man, it's weird. I wanted to watch this thing so that I would not judge it against the old. And now without having seen the old, I'm judging it against the entire genre around that time period. But I do kind of have to praise this thing because you watch this and you go, yeah, wow, they really don't make movies like this anymore. Sometimes for a reason. So yeah, what this film is about is that, what was it, 10 years ago, 20 years ago?
Something like that. I think it was 10 years.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't 20 years ago. That dude from Supernatural doesn't age that much, but over the course of 20 years, they would have to do something with him. Which, by the way, yeah, this film, it opens up in the past. I think it is 10 years ago in the past. But it's all the actors who are going to be playing these characters when we get to the present. And oddly enough, the guy from Supernatural somehow looks older when he was 10 years in the past than he does in the present. Like, in the past, they were like, all right, how do we make this guy look younger? Put a baseball cap on. And it just makes him look so much older than everyone else there. Because this opens up with a bunch of people going out to a party, and everyone else there, they look older than high school students, but they look like, people in their 20s that would play high school students in a horror film. Like, you wouldn't bat an eye if you saw this in an actual horror film, people of this age cast for that age, because they do it all the time. But this guy from Supernatural, he's the one guy in this cast that you're looking at going, so you're like the police narc, right? That's your role? You're here to spy on all these kids at this party, partying at the mine for some odd reason? Which, I don't know, is that like a thing that people in mining towns actually do?
Like, what's with like people partying in weird places in horror movies? You got Chopping Mall, where people are partying in the mall after dark, after it closes.
Which I could see the appeal of that if you didn't work at the mall.
Yeah.
If you work at the mall, why do you want to be at the mall in your off hours? Like, I worked at a comic book store. The moment that I was off my shift, gone, bye. I love comic books. I don't want anything to do with this place as soon as I am off my shift. But yeah, that's always the thing, but typically they're like partying out in the woods, and yeah, of course, you party out in the woods. The cops aren't going to find you out there. That's the entire point of it. But this is a mining town, and your entire class is going to the mine. I'm pretty sure people will know that there's underage drinking going on there, so yeah, it's kind of odd that they all decided to go into that. Plus, when you want to drink somewhere that there isn't a chance that drunk person might cause a cave-in, I'm just saying. But there is a guy who, years before this is such a weird film, because
there's like a flashback and then another...
There's a flashback, but in the flashback, there's lore of something that happened before that. So there was this guy who he got in a cave-in.
Yeah.
And he survived by eating the other people in the cave-in, but after they examined their bodies, they're like, oh yeah, they didn't die of natural causes. You murdered them to eat them. Like, you didn't wait for them to expire. You just killed them. And he's been in a coma ever since then, and he wakes up one night, and then he goes off, and he attacks this party, and we're following this dude from Supernatural, which, hold on, I gotta look up that brother's name. I'm gonna look it up in just a second. So, he's kind of like our main guy. His name is Tom. It's weird that I forgot that name. But Jensen Atkins from Supernatural. He is our main guy, and he has a bad history with the mine. He's already kind of a little bit hesitant to go there, even if it's just for a party. But then they get attacked by the miner there, and the cops show up to save the day. And then it just cuts to 10 years later. And now all those people at the party, they're all grown up. Some of them have married each other. They have kids.
Yeah, some of them moved out of the town, but then they came back for reasons.
Yep, and then Tom ends up coming back, and he actually now owns the mine and because it's in his family. And he's saying, yeah, I basically just came back to sell this thing. Listen, man, this mine has to go. It's caused too much trouble. It's not bringing in the money that once did. Yeah, the mine has to go. And the entire town is pissed because it's a mining town. You're about to cause a lot of people to lose their jobs. But then, all of a sudden, the miner shows up again and just starts killing people. And here's my first problem with this. And I know this was like the thing with the original as well, but I didn't see that one, so maybe they had a better explanation for it then. But there is no reason for this to be called My Bloody Valentine. Like, at all.
Like, I think it was supposed to take place on Valentine's,
but that is not important to the plot in any way. And the killer, he does use a Valentine theme a bit, because he will murder someone and take out their heart and put their heart in an empty candy box, but you're already a miner. You're like in a gas mask, a mine hat, you got the pickaxe. These two things do not go together. Like, at all. So, you know, I don't care about the killer in here at all. And for a slasher film, the killer does need, like, personality to them. They do need to have something that's intriguing in there. And this seems like they had two different ideas and they wanted to cram together. And again, I know that this is a remake and they had to follow the rules of the original, and that this was the thing in the original, but the original's stupid if that's the case. I don't know, how do you feel about it?
I kind of felt like there really wasn't much of a connection between like the stuff that's happening in the movie and Valentine's Day. It just so happens to take place on Valentine's Day. It's kind of like my issue with It's a Wonderful Life, like how that's supposed to be.
Has nothing to do with Christmas.
It's got nothing to do with Christmas, but it takes place on Christmas, so it's officially a Christmas movie. So.
Originally, nobody even considered that to be a Christmas movie. It was just like a weird coincidence that matched up. But the film did so poorly that the people who held the copyright to it, they just said, it is not worth like holding on to this thing. So as soon as it was just up in the air for everyone to grab, television stations that were cheap were like, I don't know, put this thing on. And that's how it became a Christmas classic.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with this movie. It's just a very interesting piece of film history that I always enjoy. Also, Jensen Atkins' name, it is Tom Herringer. I accidentally called him Tom Atkins, which is an actor in here, and he is a famous B-movie actor. He was kind of like Bruce Campbell before Bruce Campbell. Because he was also like in Night of the Creeps last year. He was in Halloween 3. He has a long history of doing kind of cheesy B-horror films. And I was looking him up because I had to remember his name before we started recording this. Everyone out there, go to Tom Atkins' IMDb page. Because it was clearly written by either him or his agent. And I love it. Like, his bio is Tom Atkins, the rugged, handsome... Like, it goes on. There's like 5 adjectives that they use to describe him. I love it. It's great. But the rest of this film I found to be kind of boring, but it was cheesy enough to keep me interested. Like, the very first kill in here, it is an old school, early 80s, late 70s kind of kill, because it happens to this guy who is sleeping with a woman that is not his wife, and she's angry that he's not going to break up with his wife to be with her, so she wants to get revenge on him. But then all of a sudden, the killer comes out and just starts killing both of them. So it's one of those things where, okay, these random people that we're never going to see again, they've got all their drama going on. And it's so over the top. Because she's like right out in the parking lot, like buck naked, holding a gun. And then there's just this incredibly bloody massacre that just starts happening to both of them. And I remember looking at that going, okay, if they can be as over the top with the rest of this film as they are with this film, this actually might be entertaining. They never really are. All the rest of the kills are kind of just standard. There is one moment that he kills someone and shoves them into a dryer. So they have to find him by opening the dryer and then like a burnt body comes out. That was actually kind of alright. But the rest of this film is kind of just a basic-ass slasher film.
Yeah, and there's also, like, a love triangle going on, which might have to do with the Valentine's theme.
Okay, we saw the film, and the fact that you're still saying it might have to do with it, like we didn't watch it, I think that tells you a lot about this film. But you bring up a good point. There is a love triangle in here between
Tom and Axel. Is that
whatever? Between Tom and the jerky cop and the girl who was Tom's girlfriend. Was Tom's girlfriend back in high school, but then she ended up marrying the jerky cop guy, and so there's this love triangle going on between them. But it seems like, Valentine's Day should play into that a little bit. Really doesn't.
No.
Really doesn't. So, it's a lot of wasted opportunities in here, and that's one that you can point specifically at this movie and go, okay, I don't know what they did in the original, but you have the freedom to write that however you want, and you didn't. So, shame on you. That's one where you really just have to blame this movie itself.
Yeah, it's like, I just found it, like, really annoying, and, like, they were, like, the two guys were just fighting over each other. It felt like a Popeye cartoon with Popeye and Bluto
'cause she has
fighting over olive oil, and she doesn't have any say.
She has no say in any of this.
It's like, wow, that's definitely, like, a 70s
These guys are just dick measuring. These guys are just dick measuring the entire time.
Yeah, honestly, it's like, I got so tired. I was like, God, I hope the minor kills both of you, because fuck both of you.
Yeah, it's weird that both of them are fighting over this lady, and she really just seems like she doesn't even care about them. She seems like the only one who actually cares about the minor.
Yeah.
She seems like the only one who actually cares about the fact that someone's going through their town killing innocent bystanders. And don't get me wrong, the cop obviously cares, and Tom's being haunted by this because he almost got killed by the minor back in high school. But the two of them, when they're caring about, they then will always stop and be like, yes, but you. She never stops to really give either of them any time.
No.
She's just like, no, we have to deal with this fucking, this is way more important here, guys.
It's like,
keep it in your pants until the killer is caught.
Like, the thing is, like, she's married to the cop, and she has a kid, but, like, the kid is, like, non-existent, honestly.
Before we were about to record this, I really had to stop and go, did they have a kid? Because I know they did.
Yeah.
But he's in here so little and has so little importance and matters so little to the entire film itself. I had to kind of come in here and just go like, was that a thing? Was it like, did I dream that? Because I remember scenes with the kid, but they seem so unimportant to the overall makeup of this entire film that who cares? In fact, this film actually would have been better if the kid wasn't in here, because the only thing that the kid really serves to do is add extra weight to the reason why she can't leave her husband. Mm-hmm. Because, the husband's a jerk, and she's interested in Tom, so why not just leave? Oh, there's a kid involved. Well, that adds a whole other complex layer to this whole thing. Okay, well, now what are you going to do? Oh, right, the killer. Who cares about your romance stuff? It doesn't really matter at all to this overall thing. In fact, it matters so little. I'm trying to get emotional over this film. I'm trying to be like, all right, let's talk about this thing. Yeah, that was so bad. It really does not matter. This film is a lot of nothing in here.
Yeah.
But when it gets cheesy, it feels like the movie is actually approaching what it should be. Like, I can understand the people out there who actually do enjoy this, partly because, as I said, it is kind of a nostalgic flashback. We don't really get slasher films like this these days, and a lot of that has to do with the cheese factor. But there wasn't enough of it.
Yeah. Maybe if there was more 3D, then it'd be like...
That's the other thing that we have to point out. This movie is in 3D. We're not watching in 3D, but every now and again, they would stop to do something that made me go, oh, this film was actually made to be. This isn't one of those crappy things back in the 2000s after Avatar came out and everyone was like, oh, everything has to be in 3D now. This movie wasn't going to be in 3D. Let's quickly convert it into 3D. This is not one of those. This is one where they actually took the time to make this movie 3D. And there's a lot of scenes in here that I had to look at and go, that probably would have been awesome in 3D. It feels like they actually stopped to think this stuff out, and I gotta give them credit on that.
It's like, the thing is, like...
Which again is another thing that makes it feel like 1970s, 1980s.
Yeah, because like that was like 3D was also a thing back then with like the red and blue glasses.
Yeah, but there was a lot of slasher films and a lot of horror films that went for that, and all of those horror films, they didn't care about plot. They didn't care about characters. They cared about going, ooh, spooky.
And there were some scenes like that, but I felt like they were few and far between.
They are. There are many times in this film that I forgot this was supposed to be in 3D.
And then like something happens where like, someone gets stabbed and like it goes through them.
The pickaxe goes flying.
Yeah, so oh, yeah. Honestly, the only time I felt like it was actually like 3D was like the opening credits.
Yeah.
Where all the credits were like thrown in your face.
They wanted that audience to be in their seats at that moment.
Yeah, it's like I feel like I'm getting bombarded with all these names. Can you please just get on with the movie?
You're just sitting there and just name. I always feel like that's kind of how 3D films should be, though.
Yeah,
like
I felt like...
But we're not watching in 3D, so it's kind of...
No, and it got annoying, so I was kind of glad a lot of it was not in 3D, but, like, when it was in 3D, it was kind of cheesy in an entertaining way.
It was, yes. A lot of times, like, when they smash into someone and, like, a part of their body goes flying at the camera, it's like, okay, you did... Not bad. I'll give you some points on that one. All right. Or, anytime they throw the pickaxe, it's just, okay, cool. You've really made use of that 3D, and I gotta give them credit on that. Again, this is a film that if you want a film like a 70s, 80s slasher film, it will do it. But just judging it as its own thing without any kind of nostalgia glasses in there, I think this movie's kind of boring.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of boring, and also, the twist is so bad. Not because it's not clever, but because the execution on it, I saw that coming a mile away. Because this thing starts off trying to make you think that Tom is the killer. And they were trying to make you think that he was the killer so much that I looked at it and went, well, yeah, of course he isn't, because you're trying way too hard to make me think that he's the killer. But then, like on a dime, they stop and make you start thinking that the cop is the killer. And the moment that they started trying to make you think that the cop was the killer, I looked at it and went, oh, Tom's the killer. 100%. There is even a moment in here where the killer comes in the mine and Tom is being chased by the killer. And like Tom comes face to face with the killer. And I went, it's going to be revealed that this is either a dream sequence or he's got split personalities or something like that. Because even in this moment in which I am seeing Tom and the killer in the exact same shot, I think he's the killer. Because it was at that moment in which they were trying so hard to lean to the cop being the killer. And I was just like, the cop has no reasons to be the killer. This is like in Scooby-Doo, when there's one guy who's a big jerk and it's like, I'm gonna get the property back to this land that you owe me. And it's like, oh, so that guy is clearly going to be the ghost. And then it turns out it was actually some guy who was really nice and they didn't make you think it was the person in the costume the entire time at all. That's exactly what this feels like. Because they kept looking at the cop going, he has no reason to be the killer in this. Like at all. But we know that Tom hates the mine. We know Tom was like psychologically damaged earlier on in this film. We know Tom really hates some of the people who have been getting killed off. We know Tom was the only person at the location where the first murder in this thing takes place. Yeah, man, you're not making me doubt this at all. Especially when it started getting towards the end and Tom had the girl with him. And he was like, no, you have to believe me. I'm telling you, your husband's the killer. He's absolutely the killer. Like, they were leaning into that so hard in that moment. Just getting to that big pleading, you have to believe me. That was like the moment that sold me on. That just made me go, yeah, you are the killer. You are 100% no question.
Yeah, because the cop is an asshole, but like you said, he has no reason.
Motivation?
He has no...
Yeah, this might be one of our shorter post-Shriek reactions, because there's really so little to talk about in this film. And there's really nothing that's interesting about. And like I said, I know it got pretty good reviews, but I think that the main reason it got pretty good reviews was because people reviewed it in theaters with the 3D. at a time when if something flew at the screen, that's all you really needed. It was at that time when 3D was really exploding, and we hadn't seen anything like that in a while. 3D was better than it had been pretty much forever. So taking that out of it, this is kind of just a boring standard slasher film. That really the only thing going for it is the callback to the time period that this is supposed to be paying homage to, which if you're a big cinephile, if you love horror films from that time, you'll get something out of that, but that wasn't enough to keep me going in this thing. I will say though, it is weird that we saw 2 horror remakes this week alone that had the 2 different brothers from Supernatural in there. And I do have to say, out of the 2 of them, Jensen Ackles came out on top. Not acting-wise, I gotta say, his acting is not that good here. The other Winchester brother, he was actually a better actor in the Friday the 13th film. Not that that was saying much. Peach, you want to be part of 3D again? Ooh, spooky. But I will say, this guy definitely came out on top because this film, it is a little bit better than Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th was more interesting than this one because it was so odd, the choices they made in there. But I do have to applaud this guy for signing on for this movie so he could be the killer. Because so many other actors, especially like handsome actors who are the lead in their own show, they don't want to be a villain. They want to go in there to be the big charming hero guy that everybody roots on. I do have to applaud this guy for actually taking the chance to go, no, make me the villain. And also, if you're going to be in a horror movie, if you want work, you should sign on to be the villain. That's the smart move because, let's be real, the reason why these guys took their roles is because they knew television only lasts for a while. You are eventually going to have to move on. Moving into movies, that is kind of the goal for many actors out there. So this guy, he looked at this thing and said, I want a franchise. I want something that I can be in My Bloody Valentine 2, My Bloody Valentine 3, My Bloody Valentine 4. Keep bringing me back over and over and over again, even if I'm just stuck in a mask the entire time. Although, I do have to say, it feels like towards the end of that thing, he did get a little bit Hollywood, and I was like, no. If I'm going to be in future films, you're going to have to see my face. Because he is in a massive explosion at the end of this film. We have to talk about this. This thing ends with him being in a giant explosion, and he walks out of there with like some schmutz on his face. His entire body should be burned like Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
And he just walks out like if you just hand him a wet nap, he'd be fine. Just like, there we go. I'm fine, everybody. It's me, Jensen Ackles. Ding! Smile at the camera at the very end. Little 3D glimmer in his teeth. Yeah, it feels like he messed up on that a little bit. He really needed to like come out with like the big villain scar or something if you really wanted to play homage to that period of time. But I do think it was a smart move for him to try and be a villain rather than be a hero in these films, because that ensures you more work. Granted, this film came out a decade ago, and there's never been another one, and probably will never be another one. But hey, man, you took a risk, and you made the smart choice on that one. But that's it. There really is nothing else to say about this film. It's not really interesting. If you've never seen it, I can't really give you any... Unless you have a 3D TV, and you are capable of seeing this like it was meant to be seen, there's really no reason for it. This movie was made for people who were not used to 3D to sit in a movie theater with a big tub of popcorn and go, oh, and throw it all in their face. But we didn't do that.
No.
So I was just kind of bored. But yeah, that's it. Oh, Peach. Stop it, Peach. Come on. All right. You need to get down. You're getting squirmy. So we're going to end this thing. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to come back every single day this week and this entire month for brand new horror movie reviews from us. And as always, happy Halloween.
Bye.